heard me say before. The modern computer is an entire data center.
The man who arrived in America at 9 years old without speaking the language, cleaned bathrooms at a school for troubled kids, and washed dishes at Denny's, today runs a company worth $4.5 trillion. His product is needed by everyone: OpenAI, Google, Meta, the Pentagon, Chinese AI labs. The United States tries to restrict him. China finds him. Congress calls him in. And yet, this week, Huang announced that NVidia is resuming chip shipments to China. Orders are already in. Production is restarting. Everyone is fighting him, and everyone depends on him. That's what real power looks like. Not the kind you can see, the kind you can't function without. Every time you open an AI tool, the meter is running. And part of that money, one way or another, flows back to the man who came up with his strategy 30 years ago at a booth in Denny's. The question isn't whether NVIDIA will get bigger. The question is who can stop it, and whether anyone actually can. His name is Jensen Huang. He doesn't build AI models. He doesn't compete with OpenAI or Google. He simply owns the infrastructure without which none of those companies can exist. And right now, a war is being fought over control of that infrastructure. The United States against China, regulators against a monopoly, Congress against one company. But here's the paradox. The people fighting him depend on him just as much as everyone else. Jensen Huang was born in 1963 in Taiwan. When he was 9 years old, his parents sold nearly everything they owned to send him and his older brother to America as unaccompanied minors. Their uncle, who received them in Washington, accidentally enrolled them in a school for troubled youth in Kentucky. He'd mixed it up with a prestigious boarding school. So there was 9-year-old Jensen, cleaning dormitory bathrooms every day, hearing racist slurs, learning to get through things on his own. At 15, he found a job. Denny's, dishwasher, then waiter. In 1993, he walked back into a Denny's, this time as a founder. At a booth in that restaurant in San Jose, he and 2 colleagues sketched out the business plan for a company they called NVidia. The idea was straightforward: make graphics chips for video games, a market most serious investors considered too small to matter. He bet on it anyway. If you're here for stories about power, strategy, and the decisions that change the world, subscribe. It only gets deeper from here. 2006. NVIDIA is a successful company, but a gaming company. Huang makes a decision that at the time seems strange. He pours enormous resources into building a platform called CUDA, a tool that lets their graphics chips be used not just for games, but for any kind of parallel computing. Nobody understands why. The gaming market makes sense. Parallel computing for scientists is a niche story. Investors aren't impressed. Competitors aren't worried. But Huang sees something the others don't. AI is not a product. AI is computation. And whoever controls computation controls everything. He's not building AI. He's building the infrastructure AI will run on. Picks and shovels for a gold rush that hasn't started yet. 2022. ChatGPT launches. Within months, the entire world wants AI. OpenAI, Google, Meta, Microsoft, all of them simultaneously start building and scaling their models. And all of them run into the same wall: NVIDIA chips. Huang forecasts that by 2027, AI chip sales will exceed $1 trillion. The H200 becomes the most scarce resource in the industry. Companies wait months for shipments. Cloud providers charge tens of thousands of dollars a month just for compute access. Competitors try to build alternatives. Google with their TPUs, Amazon with Trainium, AMD with the MI300. But here's the problem. 17 years earlier, NVIDIA didn't just build a chip. It built an ecosystem. The CUDA platform, tools, libraries, standards. Years of work. NVIDIA's market cap hits $3 trillion in June 2024. Huang becomes one of the wealthiest people on the planet, and that's exactly when a different story begins. When one company controls the infrastructure of an entire industry, everyone notices. China moved first. Chinese regulators announced that NVIDIA had violated antitrust law, tied to the terms of its acquisition of the networking company Mellanox. But behind the legal language is something else. China wants leverage in trade negotiations with the United States, because at the same time, the US is restricting NVIDIA chip sales to China. In the first half of 2025, the Trump administration effectively banned NVIDIA from selling H200 chips to Chinese companies. The justification? National security. NVIDIA announced a write-off of $5.5 billion because of that ban. Huang goes to Washington to lobby. His argument: it's better for China to depend on American technology than to build its own. Trump eventually agrees, on the condition that the US receives 25% of revenue from Chinese sales. Then comes the scandal. Employees of a company called Supermicro are accused of smuggling servers containing NVIDIA chips into China, worth $2.5 billion. According to investigators, they used a hairdryer to peel serial numbers off real servers and transfer them onto decoys. That's not just a crime story. It's proof of how valuable NVIDIA's product had become. Valuable enough that people were willing to risk federal prison to get their hands on it. And in March 2026, US senators sent Huang a formal letter with questions about NVIDIA's acquisition of the AI startup Grok, accusing the company of buying out potential competitors to protect its monopoly. Here's where we are right now. Right now. While you're watching this, there's a good chance you've already paid him. Not directly. You may have never even heard his name. But if you use ChatGPT, Gemini, Midjourney, or any other AI tool, part of what you pay flows to one man.